Thank you very much. Do you hear me?
Yes,
correct?
Perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My presentation will take about 15 minutes, and I'm very sorry, but I didn't do any PowerPoint presentation, so it's all oral presentation. So you'll have to be very connected with me to understand what I say. So in the French language, the word integrity that we say probité means more than honesty. It is applied to the police. It means that the police have to be particularly loyal in the way they treat people, including criminals. In a democracy, enforcing the law cannot be done in an unrightful way. So the French police oversight body is called the General Inspection of the National Police, and I will call it by its acronym IGPN. We are about 250 agents, mostly police officers, and our head is a judge. IGPN has set its proper charter of values, which are exemplarity, objectivity, and expertise. And its role is to control the activities of the 140,000 police officers and of all the French police departments to make sure that they are efficient, honest, unbiased, and well organized. The goal of IGPN is to improve the functioning of the police as an institution. In order to achieve that, we are organized in 3 departments. The council department comprehends 3 sections, each of them managing one specific domain. The first section provides legal advice applied to the action of the police, including ethics. The second section is dedicated to risks prevention, and the third section offers help about management and project management. The second department is the Inspection and Audit Department. It studies how the police directorates and the police stations are organized, how they function, and how they could give even better help to our citizens. And the third department is the Investigations Department that does the judicial and administrative investigations on offending police officers. We consider that each and all of these departments allow us to have a holistic view of a problem, investigating how it occurred and what were the defaults that allowed it, evaluating if it exists in other services, and providing help and counsels so it doesn't happen anymore. Regarding integrity, the IGPN proceeds in the same way than for other aspects. First, investigating individual actions. Second, helping the police services to prevent these faults. And third, participating to critical thinking and research, both nationally and internationally. So this would be the way I will talk about it. So the first way to tackle integrity violations is investigating individual actions. Judicial investigations that we conducted about corruption have doubled between 2021 and 2022. In 2022, we investigated 30 corruption cases. But IGPN only investigates the higher ones and not the petty ones. We also investigated more thefts than in 2021, 64 versus 58. The usual case is a police officer stealing some money or drugs from a person who is in custody or during a search. I will detail what we do about corruption in investigations. Most of our investigations about corruption lead to identifying someone close to the police officer. They can be merchants working in the area that is controlled by the officer and wanting to avoid a specific control because they know that they would be fined, or the officer provides this solution. The counterpart that the officer receives is usually a small amount of money, a small bribe, or a small gift. They can also be petty criminals that the police officers has arrested and who want to know if they are still under surveillance. We also see and investigate networks that are built in order to ensure the merchant both safety against fines and new opportunities. For example, we investigated a dozen police officers team who used to protect a garage owner. when these police officers were working on a car accident, for example, they would suggest that the car would be repaired in this garage. In exchange, the garage owner would lend the officers cars for free or would offer them tickets for a football game. We also have some more serious investigations about some police officers who are accomplices in criminal networks. For example, we have had an investigation about some agents in one of our international airports. One of them was in touch with a drug cartel, a drug network, who paid him well in order for him to organize a team that would let drugs carriers pass the controls at the French border. There is a specific concern for us about some officers who seek information in the police databases to sell them to criminals. That can be information about what the police know about them, about surveillances, about operations that are going to be done, etc. In 2022, our French criminal police participated to the Sky ECC and EncroChat investigations that were the European cases, and they discovered a massive use of corruption by criminal networks using those encrypted messaging applications. These investigations revealed that the phenomenon was much more present in all parts of society than we usually evaluated it. The criminal department alerted IGPN about several police officers who were selling information extracted from police databases, usually to brokers who would then sell them back to the criminals. And the bribes, they were not very high, like 50 to 100 euros for each information, but they were paid in some occasions with cryptocurrency. So it makes it very difficult to detect corruption. Moreover, every police officer can check the databases through their professional smartphones. And to be sure that they can report any suspicious activity even when they are off duty, their hierarchy usually allows them to keep their smartphone as long as they are not in vacation. It is thus very complicated for us to control whether they looked in the files for a professional reason or for a private and bad reason. Back in the days, they had to ask the command center to look into the files. So then each interrogation had to be explained, but it's not the case anymore. We don't have that command center information sending now. So we do not have the resources to check on each and every police officer's search in the databases. And that is why, based on the multiple investigations that we have conducted on this particular subject and that we have analyzed, we are trying to recruit a computer programmer who could create an algorithm that would detect suspicious searches into the police databases. So that is the first way that we use to tackle integrity violations. The second way to ensure integrity is helping services to prevent integrity breaches. And to achieve that, we use three specific tools: a special ethic regulation for the police, specific trainings and counsels, and risks mapping and audit. The first tool is a special regulation. In 1986, the Ministry of Interior decided that the police would abide by a code of ethics. It was a very short document that every police officer was required to keep with them when on duty. And the first obligation in this first code was for the officer to be honest and unbiased. In 2014, a new code of ethics was issued concerning both the police and the gendarmerie. IGPN took a major part in writing it, and it has been included into the Code for Domestic Security that rules all of the police activities. It is much longer and detailed than the 1986 one, and the inspection has identified 22 possible violations of this Code of Ethics that can be split into 68 behaviors, including misuse of the force, lack of loyalty towards the institution, and of course, everything about integrity. We also have what exists in most of the countries, When a person passes the exam to become a police officer, they are submitted to a screening procedure, and if they have committed any crime, including integrity crimes, they will not be allowed to attend the academy. The second tool is specific trainings and counsel. In order to be able to help our colleagues, even when our offices are closed, we have an internet site where the officers can search if their specific question on law or ethics has already been answered or is similar to another one and find the solution. When at the police academy, the students are given the code of ethics by the head of the inspection. My director, she goes directly to the police academy during a formal ceremony. The academy has a course about ethics, during which all of the obligations that a police officer has to abide with are explained. Moreover, there are specific courses about ethical behaviors that police officers can attend all along their career. These courses can be organized as academic ones, serious games, or e-learning courses. And IGPN participates to some of those courses and provides others. For example, last year, we trained more than 1,000 police officers about the tools that ensure integrity, and we delivered a complete training program about ethics to 3,200 officers. IGPN is the ethics referent for the French National Police. It means that if a police officer has any question about ethics, they can send an email to us to check if they are doing the right thing. Their hierarchy can also ask for the IGPN advice. For example, if a police officer wants to have another professional activity during their weekends or their holidays, whether they are paid for it or not, they need an authorization. This authorization will be granted only if there is no conflict of interests between police activities and the other activity, and if the police officer cannot use their profession to the advantage of the other activity. For instance, one of the questions that have been recently asked is, can a police officer be an influencer on the social media? We consider it as a commercial activity because the influencers usually receive gifts or payments when they talk about a product. Therefore, the officer's hierarchy will have to make sure that they do not tell their followers that they are police and that they will not ask their colleagues to become their customers. There was another example this year that shows how our different departments in IGPN can be tasked on the same file. There is a specific regulation in the police, all the public service. Public agents can ask to temporarily stop working for the administration, have another job, and decide afterwards to come back to the administration without passing any exam. And we had a police officer who was specialized in hooliganism and thus working in cooperation with a specific soccer club. And he asked about the possibility to stop working in the police in order to be chief of security in this soccer club. His hierarchy, before granting him this possibility, asked the advice of IGPN as the ethics referent. Based on our regulation, we told them that this would create a conflict of interests and that, having been in charge of controlling the club, he could not work for the club. The officer decided yet to work for the club during his vacation. Someone saw him, and his hierarchy signaled him to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor gave us the investigation, and our investigation department dealt with his case. The third tool in preventing is risks mapping and audits. 7 years ago, IGPN was tasked to organize the risks mapping in the police forces, and we have established a list of risks. Each department organizes a poll to determine the most critical ones, and then they organize an action plan to deter those risks. The list of risks evolves every year. Since last year, corruption has been being one of the risks that we ask them to specifically consider. It can lead, for example, to mapping some assignments or areas where we should establish a limited time for an officer to serve into. And we did this because we see more and more integrity violations, especially petty crimes, like I told you about, small gifts, officers seeing how easy it is to get some money in exchange of information and considering it to be permissible because they are small amounts of money. So this was the second way. And the third way to ensure integrity is critical thinking and research. IGPN works together with other structures that are involved in strengthening integrity, both on a national and international plane. For instance, last year, we were involved in the writing of the National Anti-Corruption Plan for 2023-2025 that was conducted by the French Anti-Corruption Agency. The goal is to find collective actions to deter corruption in the public services in general. There are 4 strategic axes. 1, to better understand, detect, and sanction integrity violations. 2, to support the efficiency of the public policies. 3, to preserve what we call the Republican contract, i.e. the contract between the people and the government, by being exemplary and by being strong in fighting against violations of integrity. And 4, to promote an anti-corruption model in the global economy. On a national plane, we organized seminars with journalists, academics, lawyers about all the police misconducts, including corruption. We welcome university students who want to have an internship in our organization, and working and sharing with all these people who do not belong to the police nor to the public services gives us the opportunity to think out of the box and hopefully discover new ways to tackle corruption. We also work with other French services on the GRECO recommendation. I'm sure you know GRECO, that is a European Council group of states against corruption. And on an international plane, we are regularly asked to organize training sessions in other countries whose police forces are similar to us. Last but not least, we have been being a proud member of the EPAC EACN network for several years, and we consider it to be a great opportunity to find new answers to old questions and to collectively enhance our food for thought. And that is the end of my presentation, and I thank you for your attention. Feel free to ask any questions, and either here and now or later by emails. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucille, for such a lively and picturesque presentation, for all the examples you gave us. Actually, from the audience, do you have any questions for Lucille? We have one question also about your text, if the content will be available. So also I mentioned that the recording will be available on YouTube. So everyone who is interested will be able to see that. But about the content of the presentation, I do not see any hands, but I have one question for you, Lucille. It's quite specific. At the first part of your presentation, you mentioned that sometimes the bribes could be paid by cryptocurrency. And I know that this is the issue, not only of the police oversight bodies, not only about anti-corruption agencies, but also all of the law enforcement agencies. So from your perspective and your opinion, side of you, what are the ways how to tackle this problem, cryptocurrencies or undetected payments?
Unfortunately, we don't have any solution for that, because we are not allowed, for example, to control the bank accounts of the police officers on a general basis. We could only do it during an investigation, asking the judge to give us the permission to do it. But it would mean that we already have an investigation going on. So it's too late, if I can say. But we are not allowed at all to control the bank accounts. And if we proposed to do something like that, I think our trade unions would be, they would make a revolution. They would not like it at all.
Okay, thank you. And we have one question from Camila. So could you tell us more about influencer police officer? Is it forbidden?
It is not strictly forbidden, but it is strictly organized. I mean, they cannot tell the people that they cannot tell publicly that they are police officers, because we do not want them to have a way to gain some people who would corrupt them to get some information. So when they are influencers, except if they are the police influencers, that we have some in order to communicate what the police do. But if they are influencers, they do not have the right to say that they are police officers. And we check this on their pages or their network, whatever it is, their social media. We make sure that they do not present themselves as police officers.
Okay, thank you. And so I think one more question from Michael, and I like this question because it's about the impact and the effectiveness. So does IGPN conduct effectiveness reviews of the trainings provided to officers around the code of ethics? So how do you measure the effectiveness and impact?
Unfortunately, we did not organize a global review. What we do is that after each training, we send a questionnaire, one that we say a hot one, meaning it's just after the training, the people say what they thought about it, etc. And 6 months to 1 year after the training, we send a cold questionnaire that is, do you remember something about code of ethics? And anyway, the code, they are required, the police officers are, and the gendarmes, it's the same, are required to have this code of ethics in each police station. So they can, and it is, I mean, the public can see it. It is publicly put on the walls of the police stations. So they can go back to the code of ethics anytime they want to.
Okay, thank you. And we have a short question, so I will ask that I would like to ask for a short answer. So, do police officers submit annual declarations of assets, income, and expenses?
Not, I mean, to the income, to the taxes services, but not to us.
Okay, so thank you, Lucille. Thank you for your answers. Thank you for your presentation and insights. And moving on, so the second speaker of today is Hugh Hume. So he is a commissioner of the Iron Garda Sociana, sorry for the misinterpretation or mispronunciation, commission, and also he's deputy vice president of EPAC EACN. So Hugh, good afternoon to you. Also, we can see your screen. If you can put it on the full screen mode, and we'll be able to hear you, I think. Can you hear us?
You see me? Balance, can you hear me?
We can hear you clearly. Yeah, we can see your slides, but in the and yes, we can see your slides quite good.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, my name is Hugh. I am a commissioner with the Garda Síochána Ombudsman Commission in Ireland. The Garda Síochána are the National Police Service of Ireland, and my organisation, the Ombudsman, is responsible for investigating wrongdoing within the police service. We are not police officers. We are independent, separate agency, though we do contain some former police officers. I myself was a police officer for some 31 years, and many of my investigative staff are also former police officers from many different jurisdictions. Today, I'm going to talk about some work I did in a previous role. Before joining the Ombudsman, I was in the Inspectorate, whose role was to look at the systems, policies, and practices of the police service and make recommendations for improvements. I have taken some of the work I did then in 2008, 2021, and it included some of my own understanding now as a person who's one of the commission who leads the Ombudsman investigations of wrongdoing. So it's more enhanced. Today, I'm going to talk about what we identified as 5 areas that tend towards countering corruption within a police service: strategy, governance, and accountability, how to build organizational resilience, enhancing professional integrity, identifying and investigating corruption, and consequence management. And I'll go through each of those for about the next 15 minutes. To start with, I think it's important to recognize you have to have a basis for understanding what causes corruption. Certainly, I work off the Transparency International formula that's on the screen, which sets out that corruption is more likely to occur when the incentive for corruption and the opportunity for corruption and the inclination for corruption exceed transparency and accountability and integrity. So if you increase transparency, if you increase accountability, and you increase integrity within a police service, you reduce the likelihood of corruption. And that's how the sections I've talked about are structured, and we'll go through today: increasing transparency, increasing accountability, and increasing integrity. So based on our experiences and the inspection we did, looking at strategy, governance, and accountability, we identified a number of practices. We looked, whenever we were doing this review, we looked across police services across European Union, across the Council of Europe, and further afield, Australia, New Zealand, and in the Americas, and looked to see what was best practice, what was the systems that were in place in the best performing police services in terms of anti-corruption. And under strategy and governance and accountability, we found that it was vitally important that there was a single leader who should have responsibility for identifying and managing all corruption risks. In many services, we found that the corruption risks were spread across a large management team. This meant that there was not a single understanding of the risks and the causes of corruption, and there was considerable gaps that occurred. The best performing police services had one individual who had visibility across all areas and the ability to design and lead policies to tackle corruption threats. And understanding corruption threats is really important. I commend exactly what my colleague Lucille said around the risk, understanding of corruption risk and the development of a risk plan, that the best performing police services or anti-corruption agencies have a risk plan for their corruption activity. And not only policing, you cannot see policing in isolation. If you change or affect the corruption risk within a police service, inevitably those who would corrupt will move elsewhere. They will move to the prison service. They will move to the judiciary. They will move to the civil service. They will look to other areas where they can corrupt people. So there has to be a bigger view of corruption in the criminal justice sector taken by government, looking across all agencies: border force, taxation, customs, policing, and prison, so that there's a unified approach. Like Lucille, we commended a risk plan. Now, what I have on the screen is the UN Compact Plan. It's just one model. It's just one model, but it effectively sets out how to drive down corruption by assessing the risks, defining the risks and understanding them, implementing strategies and processes to reduce those risks, measuring the impact of your plan, communicating that to your staff, and reassessing and redefining and moving through the circle. It's a very simple way of ensuring that you are driving down the risk of corruption. the second pillar that we looked at was building resilience within the police service. There are many aspects to building resilience, but today I'm going to focus on 5. The first thing is we found that the best performing organizations had strong vetting practices. Now, Lucille talked about vetting people before they join the organization or go to the police college, and that is, of course, essential. That anyone entering the organization must be properly vetted. And of course, convictions is one aspect of vetting, but frequently convictions can be found in different organizations, and we found that military courts were not included in vetting on some occasions. That tax or revenue findings were not included in vetting decisions. So any vetting has to take account of all potential convictions or findings of wrongdoing, and that should include international as well. Seldom do we see police services in their vetting practices using the likes of PRUM and other international biometric databases to check if their applicants are wanted or in fact have committed offences outside the jurisdiction. Similarly, in-service vetting is really important. Things can happen after somebody joins the police service that makes them liable for corruption. And regular in-service vetting, both based on investigations, convictions, and intelligence, is really, really important. So that if things have occurred after somebody joins an organization, they can be used to ensure that people are not in jobs that they're not suited for, and not in roles they're not suited for. And of course, vetting should be tailored. We talked about not having access to bank accounts of individuals, but for those in the most sensitive of roles, for those who are involved in national security or in serious international organized crime investigations, the most sophisticated vetting does allow access to financial accounts and transactions to ensure that the person is not got unexplained wealth or does not have a burden of debt that would make them vulnerable to corruption by others. The second pillar was control of ICT or computer systems. Again, this is very similar to what Lucille mentioned. Data and information is the currency of the 21st century. It is an invaluable commodity to those who we seek to investigate for criminal behavior. It is an invaluable commodity to those who use it for purposes such as journalists, and is an valuable commodity who those would use it to exploit the vulnerable for their own aims. And I'll talk more about that in another section. So the control of ICT systems is essential in a police service. A police service holds information that on the privacy and vulnerability of individuals that is unparalleled in most Western societies. So that must be properly policed. We looked at how various police services did that. Some at the most basic level had an audit facility, so you could see retrospectively what entries and what information had been looked at. But there was no process, as Lucille explained, to proactively identify people who were looking at the police system inappropriately. The best performing police services that we looked at had a proactive system. And there are a couple on the market that we've seen were used frequently. And they allowed a police service to set up alerts whereby if certain searches were performed, if people were looking at systems or areas they shouldn't be looking at, if people were searching for vulnerable individuals, if people were searching against criminals, the system would automatic in live time alert an integrity manager who would then take steps to investigate this. This can include doing searches at the weekend. It can include searches late at night when people might be off duty or perhaps in the company of others and are doing it to show information that they shouldn't show. So a proactive system for controlling of information is vital, particularly as we move. Lucille talked about smart devices, but it's particularly as we give police officers mobile phones that can access police systems 24 hours a day, on and off duty. Another area that we looked at as a key vulnerability was property management. There are two aspects to property management that are essential in a police service. Firstly, of course, there is to ensure the integrity of exhibits for criminal investigations. If those exhibits have not got integrity, there is the potential through corruption for significant cases to not succeed in court. But there is another aspect to property management, and that is the cultural aspect. We found a risk across police services that property seized by the police could be seen as an asset for individual police officers. That can include drugs, that can include firearms, but it can include even small items such as phones and other items that they can use for their own personal use. And that cultural aspect of using property stores as a resource is both unethical, illegal, and of course, it tends towards a culture of entitlement that suggests that police officers are above the law. And so it is really vitally important that there are effective property management systems in place that prevent property being misused, being in some way affected through their integrity, or being stolen. That's a really essential element. Police seize and have access to huge amounts of property across our jurisdictions, and there needs to be a high degree of integrity. The next aspect that we looked at in terms of building resilience was supervision. Now, supervision generally, of course, is really important in the police service, but police officers have wide powers of discretion. They have powers to decide whether to prosecute somebody or not. They have powers to issue fines. They have powers to arrest, and they have powers to decide on the outcome of a victim's complaint. We identified that where excessive discretion existed, there was the risk of corruption creeping in. So we found that it was essential that where there was discretionary powers, there was a high level of policy and a high level of supervision to ensure that proper ethical behavior was occurring. And we found this particularly in the case of fixed penalty tickets issued for traffic offences and for criminal cases where members of the police service could decide to discontinue or prevent those things happening. So that's where supervision really came into its own. The last area under resilience was culture. In Ireland and in neighbouring jurisdictions, police officers are required to sign up to a code of ethics. This was considered an essential quality. In Ireland, there is a good quality code of ethics established by a sister organisation of ours called the Policing Authority. It sets out clear human rights-based values and behaviours for the police service to adhere to, and it provides a common language and a common basis for discussion around deciding what is unethical behaviour. So that's a really important aspect of preventing corruption, a code of ethics. The next area we looked at was enhancing professional integrity. So the previous area was really talking about systems and how they perform. This is looking about how individuals perform. Some of these areas are things Lucille has talked about. Ensuring that there is effective conflict of interest, business interest, and post-employment activity policies. We found examples where people were not acting in the public interest, rather they were acting in the private interest. The interest was not in the interest of the state, but it was in the interest of themselves or people they're aware of. It is vitally important that there is clear conflict of interest policies that are understood by the people who are using them, and that they are rigorously enforced. This includes business interests. We heard about influencer. That is perhaps the 21st century equivalent of business interests, but there are a multitude of aspects that police officers seek to engage in through a business interest. This can include the security industry, home security, where clearly there's a potential for a police officer to use their position to encourage others to avail of their private business interest. And we also found with post-employment activity a real risk that police officers who are engaged in liaison with companies, who are engaged in working in procurement on behalf of the police service, would then leave the police service and go and take up employment with that private company afterwards. In many aspects of civil society, this is prohibited, but not in policing. Policing is yet to catch up in terms of preventing this post-employment activity and setting sanctions both for any future employer and for the police officer who goes off and does that role. Because obviously there's a potential to manipulate contracts with the promise of a future employment.
So Hugh, it's 3 minutes for you, okay?
Thank you. It is vitally important that gifts, gratuities are adequately visible, and any gifts are publicized. Professional boundaries. Now, we've talked about this, or we've alluded to this. One of the key things we found was police officers using their position of power for the purpose of sexual relationships. And this varied from police officers who simply got a phone number from somebody who they encountered, through to police officers who were actively using the ICT systems to identify vulnerable females who they knew were in a difficult position. In one case that was shown to us, one police officer had dozens of relationships with vulnerable victims of domestic violence who he had used the police systems to identify and then groom. This is a very significant, very damaging emerging risk across policing, and one that must be properly guided through policy and proper training. Substance abuse is a key risk. Drug use is common in our communities, and police officers are no different. So random and with cause drugs testing of police officers is an essential way to ensure that those people are not vulnerable to corruption by criminals, because they have to buy their drugs from criminals who can then identify that they are police officers. Wellness programs are essential to ensure that those with drugs habits or those who are in debt can get effective support from within the organization so that they're not at risk. That was the matrix we suggested around professional, developing a matrix to ensure that inappropriate relationships and associations are all properly managed. The penultimate area is investigating corruption. It's vital that we do not operate in silos, that there is a single unit responsible for all counter-corruption policies, an effective whistleblowing scheme. Whistleblowing is one of the best tools for prevention of corruption in a police service. Having people who come forward safe from under anonymity to identify wrongdoing. It's proven time and time again of a real enhancer for anti-corruption. And having one department that's responsible for all intelligence and information, and also for cross-referencing all notifications. When a police officer does a notification of a gift, an association, a conflict of interest, or post-employment activity, one unit should be responsible for collating all that and assessing that against standards and against known information about the police officer or the company or the individual. Finally, I'm going to touch on consequent management. The best performing police officers did not treat a case of corruption as a rotten apple. They looked beyond that individual. and they looked to see what are the underlying causes that allowed this corruption or this wrongdoing to happen. They analysed it, they developed policies to prevent its reoccurrence, and they disseminated that learning to the organisation so that the organisation understood that this behaviour was wrong, and there was transparency both internally and externally. We found in the UK, police officers who are convicted of unethical behaviour, there are not convicted, who are disciplined internally or dismissed for unethical behaviour. That is published on the website so people can see that this is the consequence of unethical behaviour. And finally, ethical declarations such as business declarations, conflicts of interest should all be done yearly as part of yearly appraisals. Thank you. I know I've gone on a bit. That's just a quick run through. Thank you for your time.
Sorry, I was muted. So Hugh, thank you for your insights and your expertise and your presentation. We have a few questions, as I can see. So first one is from our first speaker, from Lucille. So Hugh, the question for you is, can you perform substance testing on a regular basis? Because as Lucille is saying, they can do it if it's not during a judicial investigation.
So there's the ability to perform substance testing for new members of the Irish Police Service before they join. In order to bring in regular substance testing, it requires a legislative change in Ireland, which has been looked at and developed with the unions to develop a policy for that. Other jurisdictions, such as the United Kingdom, can perform random or with cause tests on throughout the year as they deem fit. But in Ireland, they are working on an agreement with the unions and legislators to bring that in.
Thank you for your answer. The second question is from Ira. Ira is my colleague. So, Hugh, would you think that the signing of code of conduct means automatic implementation of the provided values? Or is it better to include all staff in the development of or update of the code of conduct?
Well, I think in Ireland, there's two different things. There's a code of ethics and a code of conduct. Okay. A code of ethics is ethical behaviours that we expect our staff to, or the police officers to adhere to. The code of conduct is the discipline framework for which way we discipline staff, and the two of them aren't quite joined up. I think signing a code of ethics is not sufficient. It's important, and in Ireland, there was a rigorous training and program explaining the background to a code of ethics, why it was important. It's linked to international best practice and the understanding of how it sits within confidence of the community in policing. So the signature is good, but it has to sit within a wider training and understanding program for staff, so they understand the significance of it, and it should be continual as well.
Thank you. Fully agreed about the implementation of all the staff of the for the codes of ethics. Also, the third question for you, I think it will be the last one. So please, could you explain the vetting criteria and if there is any regulation on it?
Okay, so in Ireland, this is a work in progress, but looking across international standards, vetting criteria can be tailored depending on risk. So a new entrant to a police service will be required to declare all convictions, associations. So vetting goes beyond just if you've been caught. It'll include associations. So you're required to notify if you are a associate or friend of or family member of a convicted criminal. You're also required to notify if you are an associate of a journalist, for example, or other high-risk groups, because obviously, now that does not preclude you joining, but you are required to notify it as part of the vetting process. So that's the duty on the applicant to a police service in some of the higher performing organizations we looked at. then there will obviously be an intelligence check done by the police service or the agency who are assessing that to see beyond the notification and the association, have you been linked to any criminal or subversive activity. A higher level of vetting for those involved in the most sensitive of investigations can include full provision of all your bank statements for the last 3 years, all your partner's bank statements for the last 3 years, access to all your internet accounts, so your social media accounts, to demonstrate what you're saying and what you're doing on social media, and a very detailed and rigorous interview where your private life can be examined in great depth. So there can be a wide range of vetting criteria depending on the role which you're applying for.
Thank you for the deep answer from your side. So Hugh, thank you for your time today. Thank you for your insights, experience, and all the parts in which Ireland is working towards integrity in police, in law enforcement agencies, especially in the police. What we'll have next is our third presenter today, and we are moving to my home country, to Lithuania. So Žydrūnas Butkevičius, he is head of Immunity Board of the Police Department under the Ministry of Interior of the Republic of Lithuania. So what he will present us today is about tackling corruption and strengthening integrity as the role of Police Immunity Board in Lithuania, as I mentioned before. So Žydrūnas, can you hear us?
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Perfectly, thank you.
Okay, and can you see my presentation? I hope so.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's perfect. I'll try to be as quick as I can, because I see very strict our moderator Dennis, and he will shoot down me anyway in 20 minutes if I will be finished or not. So yeah, I'm joking. Of course, the second problem is that I have another meeting in 25 minutes. So anyway, I'll try to be as quick as I can. And if you have many questions, you just write them down, and Benas will send it to me, and I will answer them as soon as possible. But not maybe after straightly from the ending of my presentation, because I'm sorry, but I'm very busy today. Okay. So as I was introduced, I am the head of Immunity Board, which tackles corruption in the police system. Just a few words about our Lithuanian police system structure. So we have the main police headquarters police department, where exactly my unit works. We have 10 regional police headquarters, 4 specialized police agencies like Criminal Police Bureau, Traffic Police Service, Anti-Terrorist Operations Unit, and Forensic Science Center, and also Lithuanian Police School. Very briefly, this main police headquarters police department consists of many units. As you can see, Immunity Board of my unit is over here. We are directly under Police Commissioner General. So Police Commissioner General is head of Lithuanian Police. Former head Linas Pernavas, who talked today to you. So my boss is Police Commissioner General. So I'm quite independent in police system. I have no other bosses. So we work like a very independent unit. Our structure, our unit structure is from 10 units inside. We have Corruption Prevention and Analysis Division, which definitely works with all the paperwork, as I like to say. It's all the plans, all the actions with society, and etc., etc. We have Control Division, which works with public and private interests, whistleblowers protection, about the public procurement, initial control. I'll explain a bit wider later. these tasks of these units. So we have criminal intelligence division, internal investigations division, and corruption investigations division, which works with pre-trial investigations. And also we have 5 divisions in our biggest cities in Lithuania: Vilnius, Kaunas, Klaipėda, Šiauliai, and Panevėžys. So totally we have now 92 people working in our unit. Just one more moment. My presentation is quite big, so you don't be angry and don't be upset if I just skip some of them in a very simple way. I definitely can share my presentation with our moderators, and you can get it and study it more carefully if you are interested in. But now I just skip some of them. Main tasks of immunity system of our unit. Of course, we have our regulations, our statutes, our legal acts, but these tasks are written here like in a very simple way, just to understand for everybody what is the main tasks, what is the main goals of our work. Is to ensure vulnerable people would not be hired. It's definitely, of course, everybody understands what we are speaking about. Also ensure vulnerable officers would not get to the sensitive positions. Of course, we know that not every position in police system is in the same level of vulnerability, let's say so, or sensitivity, because some people, for example, maybe never can work in criminal police or some even in traffic police. Like a more global task is minimize the impact of corruption to the institution. Also, global task is make the corruption unattractive business. It means all the tools, all the activities we take in our work tackling corruption have to show to every police officer, to every employee in police system, and to the society also, that corruption is an attractive business, and you better should be loyal, honest, motivated, with high moral, but not corrupted. Anyway, the other way, you should destroy your career, and you even break your life. So the second, not the second, the next of main tasks is to ensure corrupt officers would be got out of the service. It's like in very simple words, like I said before. And also nowadays, especially, it's like one of the main our tasks is to protect police officers from the unlawful influence in their decision making. I'll explain a bit later about this, what we are doing actually in this field. Now a couple of slides with some retrospective view, what kind of police we had earlier. Earlier means maybe, I don't know, 15, maybe 12, 13 years ago. I'm speaking about maybe period from 2001 till 2010 or something like that. We had really untrustworthy police. We had a huge disrespect from society. We had quite low morale of police officers, and sure police disobedience to the law, because corrupt police shows non-compliance with laws. Just a couple of photos from these old times. We had problems, as we like to say in these times. We can just put our finger to any police headquarters, just in random regime, to put finger to any headquarter, and you there can find some corruption activities. Because I'm not speaking about that everybody in the police was so corrupted, but there were many people in almost every unit who, as we like to say, were non-compliant to work in police. So it was like covering prostitution, like leaking information from databases, like covering homemade vodka production, and we had a problem without traffic police, and we actually even, I think, from 2012 till 2015 maybe, or even 2016, we had even separate corruption prevention plan about how to tackle the corruption in traffic police, because it was quite a huge problem. You know, people, society, people don't see as much criminal police officers as they see traffic police officers in the streets every day. So all the view about police, all the everybody thinks that police is as much corrupted as traffic police is corrupted. For example, in Lithuania, it was very serious problem in that case. So we had even the separate programs and separate tools and measures to fight against corruption in traffic police. And I remember very well that the first years of our activities, we had a huge amount of pre-trial investigations, and we every single information we got, it could finish with pre-trial investigation, and finding clues in you can see it, they hide this money in gloves, I don't know, in every pocket, in every empty place in the cars, and also in the cabinets and in the drawers, you can see. So it was a quite terrible thing. And now it's one thing that Mr. Linas Pernavas have mentioned in the beginning speech. So look at this. We have the Society Trust in Police Index. It was quite low in 2004, 2005. And you see, Immunity Board was invented in 2011. And you see that from this year, Trust Index started to increase almost every year. And now we have quite extremely high index. It's 82% last year, and we are in the second place after firemen. So it's quite huge result. Of course, it's not only a merit of immunity unit, because it's like a merit of all the system of police heads who started this active policy of fighting against corruption and trying to make the police more attractive and more honest, more loyal. So it's a merit of all the system, and it's a merit of complex of all the activities. But anyway, immunity activity was also very important part of this. So just a few words about main aspects of our activity. We have like 4 huge blocks of our work. So it's prevention, investigation, education, and protection. And as you can understand already, in the beginning of our work in 2011, we had very much work in the second block I speak about investigation. But now we made police more loyal, more honest, and now we're working much more, I think, on prevention, on education, also on protection. So prevention, very briefly, it's all this, like I say, paperwork, corruption prevention plans, corruption risk assessment, identifying probability of corruption manifestation, etc., etc. And we pay quite big attention with working with society and community. We always get not big, but some amount of money for every year for our corruption prevention tools or equipment, as I like to say. And so we just make some very simple things that you can simply go to the street and make some kind of presentation of our work, directly discuss with people on the street what do they think about police, what do they think about corruption, what is their experience in that field. So we make like simple things like small chocolates, pens, umbrellas, car smellers, etc., etc. And we are directly working with these people. We have some crucial dates. It's like when we must go to the streets, it's the 9th of December, International Anti-Corruption Day. Also, usually we make this on the 2nd of October is National Lithuanian Police Day. But sometimes we go more often, for example, when there are some celebrations in some cities, like it was in Vilnius 700-year anniversary. There were many celebration places in the town. So we people from our unit just go to these places, put our flags, stands, all these anti-corruptional equipment, and we are directly communicating with people, and it's very interesting to them also, and it's very useful for us to hear the opinion of people, and it's quite good. Also, one of the problems, it was like mentality of Lithuanian people, because as you know, we are former Soviet Union Republic, and all the mentality of people who are a bit older, they always thought that to bribe somebody is like a must do thing. But actually now we're trying to work even with young people who didn't see that Soviet Union heritage. They actually think a bit different way. They are more pro-European, they are more like light people. So we are making every different various contests. For example, here you can see some works from children contest about like anti-corruption Easter egg, most beautiful anti-corruption Eastern egg. So it's really cool, because the children like this. We always give them some small prizes for the best works, and everybody is happy, and people are involved. Even young people are involved in this activity, and of course it helps us to spread our message to them that police is no more as corrupted as it was maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and you don't think that corruption is like some decision to solve some problems. Yeah. Also, we even almost every year we do the same thing, but this year we also started like contest of short anti-corruption movie about anti-corruption, or about corruption in police, let's say. So now we are waiting for some new works from creative our young people, students even, or people from high school. Other prevention measures are like remote monitoring, targeted inspections. These things we are doing actually every day, not every day, but every month maybe, let's see. So unexpected inspections, these are tools from our internal control procedures. We have some like special tool. It's named like secret control of police tasks. It's some kind of integrity testing model in some of your countries, as I know, but we don't use it in such a high level, how to say, because our integrity testing is like more for the preventional reasons, and more for just to get the officer know what is he doing wrong, actually. And our results of our this secret control of police tasks is it could be used only in the process of annual employee evaluation. It means we can't punish a police officer who did something wrong in the procedure of the secret control, but it depends on his evaluation. Other huge block is investigation. As I have said before, we have criminal intelligence investigations, we have pre-trial investigations, and we have disciplinary investigations, and also we have security clearance procedures. It's just like a process of criminal intelligence. We have some initial information, we can verify it, we can check it, and we decided to start intelligence case or not to start it. It depends on the information, and then you can realize this case if it's about some actual crime. You can start pre-trial investigation. The pre-trial investigations, of course, are coordinated by our prosecutors, but we definitely collaborate with them in all the cases, and we can. But one of the main things that we can start pre-trial investigation, we have like the right to initiate it. I mean, after we, of course, collaborate with the prosecutor office, but if we see some signs of crime, of corruptional crime, we can start a pre-trial investigation without any commands from somewhere or something else. A bit about disciplinary investigations. It seems quite a simple thing, but you know, we have about 10,000 employees in police system. About 7,500 are police officers. Other are like civil servants or people under employment contract. But maybe even 8-9 years ago, we had about 1,400 or 1,500 in disciplinary investigations every year. But then we spoke with many psychologists and many with police officers who works in Lithuanian police, and we understood that like we have to make something police officer to feel safe and comfort in his work, because some of them just always were afraid about what if I will do something wrong? What I can do this or not do this? They were afraid, and this caused some very stupid mistakes from their side, and we decided that maybe we are trying to make too much disciplinary investigations. So we changed. We worked with our Ministry of Interior and changed some legal acts, and actually we made like now we don't start a disciplinary case when we get some complaint or some information. We always have to check this information and decide to start disciplinary case or not to start. And so we reduced the disciplinary investigations number from the 1,400 to 300 or 250 a year. So people now people who work in police, they feel more safe, they feel more comfortable, and it's quite good.
Žydrūnas, 1 minute for you, okay?
Yeah, okay. So we have one more very serious thing is security clearance procedures, because every police officer has to have in Lithuanian police permission to work with classified information, and we always check the situation. If we have some we see some threats to these people, we can to take away this permission, and no permission to work with secret information. You have not with classified information, you have to leave your job. It's one of the tools we actually used quite often in our work, maybe 5-6 years ago. Now not so often. About protection that I talked about this year, half a year, because stats from 2023 are from the first half of the year. we had 7 pre-trial investigation cases against people who threatened police officers. Last year we had only 2 cases. In 2021, as you can see, we had 21 cases. Quite productive year in that field. And also we initiate administrative proceedings for people who insult police officers. It's quite, we are like looking to the social media, to the social networks where the comments sometimes are very bad or threatening to police officers. So we are trying to initiate administrative procedures, and they get goes to the court and gets fines from 90 to 140 euros. It's quite good, and it's quite it worked quite good, because this year we had only 10 these cases, and look, in 2020 we had 100 cases, but people started to share information that, hey, come on, don't comment bad about police because you can get the fine. So it works also. And one more thing, we have a right to invite people to police office and officially warn them for unacceptable, contrary to public interest behavior. So sometimes if we can't prove some administrative case or some criminal case, we just call this man or woman to the police and warn him or her officially. And also we work quite strictly on education of candidates, these people who start only their careers in police, with now working people, and education of society. Of course, we also participate in various projects with very wide range of people. And maybe I'll leave this because my time is running out. You can read my presentation. I'll share it definitely with our moderators. And we have also, of course, code of ethics and anti-corruption behavior. We have changed it last year because of the recommendations of GRECO, because it was Lithuanian evaluation last year. So we also have our gift policy, protection of whistleblowers, and that would be all because time is running out. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Žydrūnas. So there is no better way to put yourself in time frames than another upcoming meeting, yeah?
Yes, actually, yes. I'm sorry, but
it's okay. So what we'll do, so you have to go, so we'll send you an email with the questions we have in our chat box, and then your questions will be sent to all registered participants we have here today.
Okay.
Also, we share the presentation of yours. So thank you, Žydrūnas. Have a good upcoming meeting. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for representing Lithuania as well in this meeting. So have a nice evening, and we are moving on.
Thank you. Good luck for everybody.
Thank you, Žydrūnas. So we have a lot of questions for Žydrūnas, as you can see. So as I mentioned, we will send them to him via email, and when we'll get his answer, we'll send it to all the participants who registered here today, and we'll attach all of the presentations of the speakers as well. If that is okay for all of you, we can move for our last speaker today, and we have interesting perception, because our speakers from previous topics was from the police oversight bodies. But Iaroslav Liubchenko is a deputy head of National Agency on Corruption Prevention Ukraine. So he will share more holistic side of anti-corruption environment and how to strengthen it within law enforcement agencies, and also from the Ukrainian point of view. So Iaroslav, are you ready? Because we can begin.
Yes, I'm ready.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much for invitation to share our experience of NACP, and I would like to share my presentation, to show my presentation with you. I'll try to share my screen. You can see my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Cool. Strengthening integrity in law enforcement agencies, NACP review. I would like to start with a phrase which I liked very much, that integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. We are using integrity in different areas in NACP. It's public area, private area, in local self-government, etc. And I would like to show you on the example of law enforcement agencies how we are working, like example. We have. I'd like to talk about 3 different perceptions which we are used in national agency. One of them is anti-corruption policy. Second one is whistleblowing issues. Third one is concerning our place in NATO building integrity project. First of all, I would like to start with state anti-corruption program, which was implemented by Ukraine, passed in 2022, and it prescribed that we have measures in 15 policy areas. And I would like also to share with you how it's working from. You can see in real time what is implemented and what is not. We have an action plan which is called State Anti-Corruption Program, which was passed in March 2023. And I would like to show you actually how it will how you can use our system in order to understand what Ukraine is doing under implementing an anti-corruption strategy. You can see here our main areas on which we are working. We are talking today on law enforcement agencies, and it included in this area, it's fair court, prosecutor office, and law enforcement. And you can see here perception of and implementation of anti-corruption activities. You can see what is already implemented in real time and what is going to be implemented. And currently we are talking about one of issues of I will show you on the presentation, but you can see that we can understand what is already implemented in different areas. And I will try to show it in my presentation. Next slide. We have 2 main problems in law enforcement agencies in Ukraine, which is prescribed by anti-corruption program. It's human resource policy in the national police of Ukraine and interference of law enforcement agencies in the work of customs. What we are talking about? First of all, it's this problem should be resolved by passing new law, which should be drafted by Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine from October 2023 till it should be implemented till June of 2024. This law prescribes that we are changing procedures and mandatory evaluation of the effectiveness of police officers, and we are talking about evaluation of criteria integrity according to the reasonable doubt, managerial competences for managers, as well as work performance, evaluation of effectiveness of the police officers as a part of certification is carried out in the electronic personal management system. And results of the evaluation of effectiveness of police officers as a part of certification, which published on official website of National Police. This law should be implemented, and we are running procedures of competition on different manager positions in National Police, from the highest one till the position of territorial units of National Police. Second problem, which was stated in anti-corruption strategy, it's a problem that our law enforcement agencies, they are influencing customs inspection procedure, and we can see that our security service and National Police, they can influence on a wide range of and do wide range of actions with access to declarants' goods, overloading, unpacking, etc. And our anti-corruption strategy prescribes what we should do with it. I already tell that we have new qualification requirements in this draft law, which should be implemented, competitive procedure for management positions, and we should divide, it's very important, ministry as a policy-making body and law enforcement agencies as a policy implements body. Because of our Soviet past, we have such issues that ministries still implementing policy what they shouldn't do, and we have such practice. In this case, we are dividing issues and policy making from implementing. Next issue on which we are working is our anti-corruption examination of draft acts. NACP is every day we analyzing hundreds of acts, which is going to be passed by Cabinet of Ministers and Verkhovna Rada in order to understand and in order to prevent from corruption risks, which is inside of our legal acts. As well, we are coordinating methodologically anti-corruption programs of our different bodies, as well law enforcement agencies, their risk assessment and anti-corruption effective programs. And in these bodies already created authorized units, which is in charge of these procedures. We are coordinating with them in order to prevent from corrupt practice. In this year, NACP was designated by presidential decree as a national coordinator of NATO building integrity. And what it means that we are working under recommendation of NATO BI for Ukraine, and our recommendations from 2019 prescribes that we should work on human resources policy, planning and budgeting system, procurement policy, and cooperation with stakeholders. Currently, we already started this work, and we are going to look on this self-assessment and understand what should be implemented in 2024 and so on. Whistleblowing our cases, I would like to tell that in 1 month ago, we launched our unified whistleblowers reporting portal, and currently citizens can report on corruption in two state bodies on which with which them working. And one of interesting example on which I would like to stress, it's example which was this month actually. On this, I would like to start that in 2020, while holding the position of the first deputy head of the main department of the state tax service in Kyiv, there was a bribe to head of NABU Artem Sitnik and head of SAPO, it's our anti-corruption prosecutor office, Nazar Holodnitsky. The amount was actually, you can see on the screen, it's real photo of this money. It's $6 million, which was for these leaders of anti-corruption bodies. And what was the issue? That our whistleblower, he whistled that there is a bribe. And this month, on 2nd of October 2023, panel of judges of the High Anti-Corruption Court of Ukraine approved the plea agreement concluded between the prosecutor of the SAP and the former first deputy head of the main department of the state tax service in Kyiv, Mykola Ilyashenko, and whistleblower was rewarded by $350,000 for whistleblowing, and currently he's in the middle of the process of getting this money because he's a whistleblower. So it's a success story for Ukraine, how we actually fighting with corruption when it's already implemented. As well, on which issues we are working, I would like to tell a very quick story about our case when NSCP is working on helping law enforcement agencies to change approach from a quantitative Soviet approach to identifying causes and conditions, preventing crimes. For instance, we have a very interesting case which we are telling to our colleagues, and we have another department who is doing different kind of conferences and seminars for schools and universities, and they are telling as well this story that prosecutors was investigated theft of funds at the enterprise, and he prosecuted 3 different cases in 1 year. After he understands that there is something different, very interesting with this enterprise, he talked to its director and understands that director is not paying salary for people who was employee of this enterprise, and they are stolen money from this enterprise. In this case, he opened criminal case against the director because he didn't pay salary for such employee. And what is shown by this case from our perspective, that our law enforcement agencies in Ukraine should be oriented on identifying causes and conditions, and not only work on current cases, because working on prevention is much effective than working with the results of such issues. Another issue, and I would like to stress that we created in National Agency on Corruption Prevention Department of Integrity Policy Formation in the security and defense sector, which include as well law enforcement agencies. And you can see our functions for this unit. Our members of this unit presented currently on this online. They're online as well, and you can see them. And I suppose that's on this issue I would like to take a break. Thank you for attention.
Thank you, Iaroslav. It's really interesting to see how Ukraine is coping with corruption, especially in these times, in the war times. And as I can see, Lucille, I think she's one of the most active today in asking questions, but she has a question about whistleblowing. Do you have a lot of whistleblowers reporting to your site? And is the site available on a smartphone application? And also I would like to add something from my side, from Lithuanian side. In Lithuania, we have an issue that whistleblowers are not reporting because they do not trust that something will change after the report. And also one more issue is that they are afraid they are scared because they think that they will be the victims of the reporting after they will report. Do you have some issues in Ukraine as well, and how do you cope with that? But first, we will begin from Lucille. Question of the Lucille.
Thank you for your question. We just started with our portal. Previously, it was on testing mode. Currently, we are working in order to be as well client-oriented for mobile phones, and you can use it currently from computer, but we are working. It's just the beginning, and we have already some feedback from our clients. And currently, we are thinking what should we do in 2024 in order to change our portal, in order to implement, in order to add new state bodies and state authorities, and it should be like easy to be integrated in our portal. From the second question is as well is important and is an issue for Ukraine as well. I was talking 2 months ago with actually a compliance officer of one of our state bank, and he said that he is not going to give how to say to give proposal for whistleblower in order to be on his firm, and we are currently working with it. But about confidentiality, we have such conditions that you can actually apply on our portal without any information, and nobody could understand who is reporting. And it is one of the conditions of OECD on which they are actually checking country, and we already know that, and we implement it on our portal. However, it's really important for NACP, because we are working on whistleblowing topic, to implement it in our culture, because currently we have like Soviet past when whistleblowing is not normal, and people think that they are just it's not their business, and they shouldn't talk about corruption. But we are working with perception, and currently with the help of our another unit, who's our Office of Building Integrity as well, they're working on such issues.
Okay, thanks for your answer. And I see that a lot of attention, how to say, your example of the bribe and the story of whistleblowing attracted a lot of attention, and we have 3 questions regarding that. So I will try to jump in with them. So more about that story. Who have been charged with corruption, position maybe, also what sentences, and what for bribe, by whom bribe was given, and for whom, and did the both sides of corrupted act have been charged with corruption crimes? And one more extra question from Lucian. The whistleblower, was he involved in the case, or was he offered to give money, or was he requested to do that, or he just knew about the situation and reported that?
Thank you. It's a case of our National Anti-Corruption Bureau and SAPO. That's why we only have information from as well from them. But it case concerning our former Minister Ecology and Natural Resources, Mykola Zlochevsky. He was in the position when our president was Yanukovych. And it was a bribe to head of NABU and SAPO for 6 million in order to close criminal procedure against this Mykola Zlochevsky. Because of that deputy head of the main department of the state tax service, he was given such bribe, Mykola Ilyashenko. He was like a mediator, or who is giving the bribe. And because he he was on how to say, an agreement with SAPO. In this case, they only have agreement, and nobody was. It was like suspicion on absentia. That's why actually nobody was imprisoned, but because of agreement.
Okay. So thank you. Also, Camila has one more question. Was it police provocation after whistleblowers' provocation? I don't know if I get the question clearly. So Camila, if you would like, maybe we can answer the question in voice, if you would like to, or you can whistleblower information. Was it police provocation after whistleblowers' information? So I don't know, Iaroslav, maybe you have something to add to that.
You can read, it's an open story, and you can read it in our news. It already translated because it was on the 2nd of October, and there you can find more information about this case. We don't have actually more information and specific one.
So Iaroslav, maybe you or someone from your team can share the link to the news in chat while we are speaking, if that's possible.
I will ask to do it. Thank you.
Okay, or you can send us via email and we share it with the answers of the Žydrūnas together with one email, as well as the presentations of the speakers of today. So our webinar, really interesting webinar, comes to an end. It was really, I was really happy to see that not only the theoretical part was covered, but also a lot of examples, live examples, how the corruption could be tackled in police, in law enforcement agencies, also how together police oversight bodies and anti-corruption agencies can work together in order to tackle corruption as the issue of our society. Also, I was really happy as anti-corruption education representative to see that a lot of us gaining on how the policemen should behave, how the society should behave, and how they should think about integrity as well as the corruption. So because on our morality and our ethical norms, it depends how corruption will be spread in our societies, not only in France, Ireland, Lithuania, Ukraine. I think all of the countries have issues and also some problems. But when we talking about the morality, we have a common ways how to solve this problem. So I'm really happy that today we were able to share that expertise. And I really hope that this is not the last time. So Iaroslav, dėkuoju вам for your presentation. Thank you for all who was able to ask questions or to also answer them. Thank you, Lucille, you, Žydrūnas, who is not here anymore. Thank you, Iaroslav, once more again. Slava Ukraine. And well, we will see. We will see, I think, majority of you will see in the EPAC conference also next year. All of you are waited here in Vilnius in the International Anti-Corruption Conference, which will be held in Vilnius, Lithuania. So a lot of going on about anti-corruption, and I'm happy that we can be a part of it. So thank you and see you soon.